needs a whole noisy crowd in town when I can have my orchestral music? Hello and welcome to another Harvestella video. Yes, you probably heard it guys, we have a brand new life sim RPG from Square Enix on the horizon, a little bit of Final Fantasy with a little bit of Rune Factory flavor sprinkled in. Sounds strange to you? Well, if you're still on the fence about it, this little first impression review might be just the right thing for you. Very important though, if you want to try out the free demo yourself, it is not the final product, so stay with me until the end to hear more about the most significant fixes that come with the day one patch. Also, many thanks to Square Enix for providing me with a free copy and enabling me to ramp up my Harvestella output on this channel. But without further ado, let's dive right in. Before we get to fully jump into our life sim adventure, we are given the choice to customize our character. Many of us will be very pleased to spot 3 different gender options this time: male, female, and non-binary, which is a good step into the right direction for more inclusivity. However, male players that might have hoped to find representation in a more masculine version of a main character might feel a little let down this time, because both of the main character models are in fact very feminine looking, just with a slightly different body frame and a very similar long hairstyle. Apart from that, I am very glad that the body frame is not gender locked and we are given the option to choose from different skin, hair, and eye colors. I would have hoped for a few more options to individualize our main character, but I am still satisfied with what we got. Under the premise of witnessing a giant crystal falling from the sky and meeting a disguised stranger that claims to be coming from the future, the player will immediately find themselves engulfed in an ominous, mysterious atmosphere, and it is our duty to restore the balance of the sea slide crystals that control the 4 seasons on Earth, all while we are trying to get by and struggle to survive the deadly season quietus that makes every creature and life on Earth wither and die. Harvestella definitely does not shy away from delivering us a darker fantasy piece disguised as a peaceful life sim RPG, and the overall gameplay experience feels much closer to a full-fledged sci-fi fantasy than it is trying to be a farming life simulation. But it is especially for this blend of both genres that made it feel even more refreshing to play and like an entirely unique experience in the endless sea of farming simulation games that we have nowadays. The prologue had me hooked right from the get-go, and without spoiling too much, it is teasing a popular science fiction theme that I personally enjoy a lot, so take it as you will. I might be biased there, but if you do enjoy similar fantasy genres like I do, you will probably be having a great time discovering the depths of Harvestella's story. Because I am telling you guys, the prologue was pretty dialogue heavy. I can really see people getting annoyed and spamming the A button to skip the dialogue, but to be quite honest with you, I personally did really enjoy that. It almost felt like reading a visual novel. Even though there is no way knowing just yet how the story is going to unfold or how it's going to end, I do have a strong feeling that everyone who appreciates narrative-driven games and deeper storytelling might find their satisfaction in Harvestella. But only if you're able to immerse yourself in a 2D fantasy that does not spoil you with lots of excellent voice acting. Yes, it is a bummer for lovers of voice acting in games such as myself too, because despite being able to choose between English or Japanese voices from the menu as you start a new game, surprisingly, you're gonna have to try very hard to find any voice lines in your game. It does not mean that there are none at all, because occasionally you will come across short voiced dialogues.
いらっしゃい。シーズライトの影響か。魔物の気が立っているようだな。
I just don't remember any significant cutscenes that would involve any voice acting in general, which could definitely be seen as a missed out potential. But believe me when I say, even without the voice acting, I did find myself very invested in the story itself, to the point that it felt pretty addictive to keep playing to figure out what is gonna happen next. And if a game manages to do that without all the extras, I consider it good storytelling. But what about you guys? If you're with me and you enjoy immersive life sims with a compelling story and wholesome characters to bond with, don't hesitate to leave a like and a sub, because I will be keeping you guys up to date with everything Harvestella, Rune Factory and more. But now, let's move on. The world and the overall atmosphere were really breathtaking, especially the lush green environments at night with all the glowing lights were a treat to look at. We will get plenty of variety in terms of town design, because each location is making use of a different color palette, which makes each area on the map very unique and distinct from one another. We have places that are tinted in darker reddish autumn colors, and other times we will come across a cherry blossom colored town that looks more dreamy and bright on the contrary. I know that some players raised their concerns because they found the village empty and not populated enough, but we might also need to keep in mind that the Nintendo presenters actually stated in their last live stream that the town is going to become more lively as we progress in the story. That means we might need to wait until mid to end game to make our final judgments on that. But who needs a whole noisy crowd in town when I can have my orchestral music?
ハーベストラの作曲を担当した椎名剛です。戦闘曲楽しかったですね。割と結構ノリノリでやっていいよって言われたので、すごく楽しく作れました。
I really love every single one of Harvestella's soundtracks, and having these play in the background on my journey did contribute a lot to my overall game immersion. I personally had no technical issues while running the game on my Nintendo Switch in docked mode. It is clear to see though, this is a case of achieving a better performance in sacrifice of the graphics quality. The color scheme and the texture detail do look solid to me. I love the attention to detail. There is a lot of foliage in the environment. The play of shadow and light looks great, and the water animations are very pretty even without reflections. But sure, it could have looked a little bit more clean, especially around the edges, as it can appear a little bit blurry or greasy. But quite frankly, I don't think the Switch runs a powerhouse of an engine, so I am personally simply relieved that it runs as stable as it does while still looking decently pleasant to the eye. The farming aspect is one of the main selling points of the game, and also a major reason why Harvestella does not exclusively qualify as an adventure RPG, but is being lined up among other titles of the life simulation genre, such as Rune Factory 5. However, after jumping into the gameplay for the first time, I quickly realized that farming did not seem to be taking the main focus in Harvestella, and it felt more like a supporting mechanic that helped you survive on your RPG adventure. Even with a more simplistic farming system in Harvestella, I did find enough enjoyment in taking care of my crops. The controls felt fairly easy to master, and I could switch between tools and equipments without any problems. Especially using the watering can felt very swift and satisfying to do, and just the fact that all the crops are growing at a rapid speed and can be harvested literally every single day felt like a really rewarding experience and gave me something to look forward to every single day. The joystick movements did feel a little sensitive though, so it can take a little more effort to aim at the correct tile, and actions like plowing your soil or hitting stones with your hammer can feel a little slow and clunky to do, and yet it didn't disturb the overall farming experience too much. The combat system follows the classic RPG formula and is kept simple enough, but not in a bad way. It was just the right complexity to feel comfortable with if you're already familiar with RPGs. Your enemies have strengths and weaknesses, and the player can choose a variety of skills and job classes to counter-attack them. The combat does feel dynamic. It is possible to break their defense and make more damage or interrupt their special attacks. But be really careful here. If you don't carefully study your enemies' attack patterns and make sure to have enough food with you to recover, you might get easily beaten up by your enemies. I can see why some fans of the RPG genre might want to argue that the combat system lacks depth and needs some polishing, though Square Enix have already rolled out their first patch which adjusts the attack speed of the mage and the cooldown time for changing jobs, so we can expect a smoother combat performance. I might not be the most critical player in terms of combat, but I can assure you I am simply having a good time with this game. One of the biggest complaints about Harvestella did seem to be the fast pacing of the game. It definitely took me by surprise when I was only spending like 5 seconds on the world map, but within the blink of an eye, the day was already over. Time used to be passing unusually fast in Harvestella, and many players who have tried to demo did feel like they could never do everything they would have liked to in a single day. On a positive note though, Square Enix have responded to the criticism very swiftly, and they included major fixes like changing the passage of time and adjusting other mechanics for the better, like allowing faster fishing in the final release version. The Day 1 patch makes it so much more relaxing for us to go about our days compared to before, and allows us more leeway to plan our daily schedule without feeling too stressed. It is still much more fast-paced than Rune Factory 5, but for me it is an enjoyable pace that keeps me on my feet without giving me any room to feel bored. What about a Socializing though? During my first 4 hours of gameplay, I unfortunately did not encounter any significant interactions with the characters. And while there was a bit of a shame, rest at ease, socializing or even romancing will be possible in Harvestella. It does feature a so-called partnership mechanic that will allow us to bond with a soulmate of our choice and live together with them. It is a little toned down though, but if you want to know more about it in detail, please check out my other video, Harvestella Love is Free. Especially if you are a fan of the cozy life simulation genre, all the difficulty with time management and maybe even stamina recovery might turn what was thought to be a relaxing adventure into a more stressful experience than initially desired. While Harvestella is trying to appeal to both lovers of the farming sim genre and to JRPG players equally, I don't think we're getting either one of the two. And while that does sound a bit negative, for me, that is honestly completely fine. I don't think Harvestella was supposed to be a mere copy of Rune Factory, nor does it try to be yet another RPG. I see it as a brand new entry that delivers us a completely fresh experience like we've never seen it before. It is a hybrid that comes with both RPG gameplay and life sim elements, and it is giving us a good mix of both. I am having a really good time playing Harvestella as a RPG lover and life sim fan myself, but if you only care about one of the two elements, then Harvestella might not be the right title for you. Let me know your final verdict if you've played it yourself. I'd love to hear if the game managed to win you over or if you're still skeptical. But this has been everything from me for now. Have a lovely day everyone, and I'm hoping to see you in the next video.